Okay, well, hello, beautiful people. We are back again with another episode of Life After Infidelity. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even know what I'm going to title this. My little cousin was asking me that. She was like, what is the title of this? I was like, I don't even know. So we have a special guest again today. Miss Antonese is here to speak with us. And I do want to say this, and it's so funny when I saw you walk up and you had your pink lipstick on. I was like, I wore pink because of you.
I love it. I was like, I was like, oh, she got her pink on. She was like me.
I did. I was like, because I know your theme is pink, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna wear pink because I know she gonna have something pink on. So.
Like I was like, let me do my little secondary color, and then but I answered the pink. So it's perfect. It's perfect.
It works
I love
well.
it.
And then we were like in the frame. I was like, oh, come on, beautiful chocolate women and our muscles, our
come on now,
arms,
come on.
But yes, I am so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for answering the call to come and speak. I actually got the opportunity to meet you at Twyla's Divorce Expo, and you were speaking from the stage, and when you shared your story, and I'm not going to say it yet, but I'll let you share your story. But when you shared your story from the stage, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I got to find her because we got to connect for sure. So, I'll let you get started. Maybe tell the people a little bit about yourself, and yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Antonese Davis. I'm an author, speaker, and a self-care coach. Fighting My Crown started as my story. So that's where the author came in. I wrote my story about my journey to divorce. And through that journey, I was able to really learn about myself, really heal from what I was going through, and then really connect with other women who were going through the same situation.
Yeah.
And, for me, divorce, is my story, but it's such a taboo thing. And, people, when I was going through my situation, people weren't really talking about it. And I just felt like there needed to be a space for women to share what they were going through and share, just about divorce, about infidelity, and discuss those things so that way that you're not alone when you're going through those situations. And so I started Finding My Crown as a way to have a community for women to be able to connect with resources and to really learn about self-care, because really what saved my life and helped me through my divorce was prayer, therapy, and self-care. And so, for me, I found out that my husband at the time had a baby by someone else, and that just completely changed my life, just at the drop of a dime. Everything that I knew my life to be was going to be was gone. That completely changed. And so that really made me break down to the point where I had to redefine myself, find myself again, find what I wanted, and decide whether I wanted to stay or whether I wanted to leave. Right. And ultimately, I decided to leave. Yeah. And that's where we are.
And that's one of the things, because didn't you say you were pregnant?
Yes.
At the time?
I had just had my baby. I found out that he possibly had another kid 2 weeks after I had a baby. Literally 2 weeks after. So you're talking just went through pregnancy, just had a baby, all the postpartum and all of that. Literally in that moment, finding out that my life as I knew it was completely over.
And that's the thing, first of all, infidelity sucks, period. Yeah. But then just to hear different stories about how they found out about the infidelity or where they were in that time of their life, and just to this is supposed to be one of those beautiful moments where, you're building with you're bonding with both your husband and your baby and all of that stuff. And so, I don't know, there's so many thoughts in my head, but I want to go back to this first. When you talk about divorce as a taboo, what do you mean by that?
For me, I grew up in church. And so, you weren't supposed to get divorced. You didn't marry to get divorced. There was certain reasons, ways that God allowed you to be out of your marriage. And when I started therapy, actually, my therapist said, okay, we're going to go ahead and get this out the way. Yeah. Your husband cheated, committed adultery. So I know you're a believer. So therefore you have an out of your marriage. So we're going to go ahead and knock that out right now.
So were you battling with that? Okay, well, I can't, even though he did cheat on me, and I'm sure you already knew, okay, that's adultery, so that does give you grounds for divorce. But were you still battling with the thought of divorce though? Of like,
yes, it was, so many people, so many women, like we keep it to ourselves. And I was those one, like, when things happen to me, I don't really share it. And so when this happened, I was like, how do I tell people that, that this happened? How do I share that this man possibly had another baby by someone else and, found out, yes, he did. So I say possibly because at the time I didn't know. It took some time to go through the test and all that stuff. But, how do I, like, what are people going to think? What are, if, I didn't get married to get divorced. So all those, thoughts of, what people are going to say, what's going to happen, what my parents going to say, what, like all of those feelings and all those thoughts just, I dealt with all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you classify yourself as a good girl?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But that's important, right? Yeah. And one of the reasons why I asked that is because that was my story too, of like, once I did come to grips with the fact that, oh crap, my husband cheated on me, all the questions that went through your head. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of people deal with is like, if they have this image of being a good girl, or they have this image of being this strong person within their friendships, within their family, God forbid, now something that you've been trying to put a facade up for so long is about to be exposed.
Right.
How do you go about that? And so, I know you're big on like acceptance and acknowledgement, and that's kind of what your therapist told you at first, but like, kind of what does that look like, in terms of helping someone who's like in that very first stages of finding out?
So I truly believe that in those very first stages, you have to get to a point to where you can process the emotions that you are feeling. Because I remember in my first therapy session, we actually went to therapy together the first time.
Okay.
And the therapist said, she asked me specifically, she said, what do you want to do? And she was asking in the sense of, do I want to stay or do I want to leave? I said, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know what I wanted to do in that moment.
Yeah.
And she said, okay, you guys need to have therapy separately because you have things that you need to process and process those emotions. And he obviously has things that he needs to work through.
Yeah.
And so she set me up with my own therapist. And so in those moments, like I took it very seriously. Like I didn't know where else to turn. So if this was the only outlet that I was going to put in the work to figure out what it is I needed to do. Yeah. I didn't know the answers I was going to get, but processing the emotions, the anger, the fear, because that's what it was. I was scared. I was scared that life as I knew it was over.
But why?
Because I grew up, I knew I was going to get married. So I was the good girl who, I had found, a boyfriend in high school that I fell in love with. And I knew I was going to get married. I knew I was going to be a mom. Like I knew those were the plans that I had for myself. And so when this happened, it was like that white picket fence. It's not the same. I grew up, my birth parents aren't together. And so I didn't want my kids to feel that. I didn't want them to feel the things that I felt not having my parents together and, having a different last name than the people in your family and having to answer, questions and deal with the dynamics of, this household and the other household. And I didn't want them to have to go through that.
Right.
So when I said, I wanted to get married and have kids and all that was what I envisioned was having, the white picket fence and the mom and dad and the kids. That's what I envisioned. Yeah. And so to realize that was not going to be the reality anymore that was the fear. Where do I go from here? Because what I thought, the plan that I had, was no longer. Yeah.
And I think that's important because a lot of people are so caught up in the anger that they're not taking the time to actually address the fact that they are afraid.
Yes.
And what is that fear? Like you said, really processing that fear to get an understanding of what it is. Because I think that once you really truly acknowledge, like, okay, well, you are afraid. Yeah. And, okay, well, what are you afraid of? Then it allows you to learn how to navigate what your choices are. And it even makes me think about that. Like, I love that you shared that you didn't know, and maybe because a lot of people don't know. Yeah. And I don't know if, you experienced this where it was like, once you did start to share that your husband at the time cheated on you, everybody was like, oh, you need to leave.
It's funny. I had someone ask me, were people like telling you to leave or like trying to tell you to stay? And the crazy thing is the people that I decided to share at the time, with what had happened, because I was thinking, I knew that I couldn't go through this by myself. Mm-hmm. And so I had my tribe that I shared what happened with. Mm-hmm. And really none of them pressured me either way. None of them were like, and it was a mixed tribe. It wasn't just all single people. It was a mixed tribe of married and single. Like everybody, it was in different phases of their lives, but none of them were like, well, you need to stay and work your marriage out. People make mistakes. Nobody told me that. Mm-hmm. Nobody was like, oh, you need to go ahead and leave. Like, I can't believe it. I got none of that energy. Everyone, wow, that's a blessing. Yeah, and everybody doesn't get that. Everybody doesn't get that. But no one was trying to pressure me. They allowed me to release and share what I was feeling, what I was, going through, and where I was in that moment. They supported that. Mm-hmm. They prayed for me, and wherever God was leading me, they were going to support it no matter what. That's what they allowed me to know. No matter whatever you choose, and even my mama, because I know in her mind she was like, "Girl."
Because you heard her
she
baby.
Me like... Exactly. You heard, but she don't play about her kids and or anybody who hurt her kids. So she was definitely wanted me to leave, but she was never like, you need to leave. When you leave, she's never pressured me either way.
Yeah. And I love that. I love that you actually had the space to heal, and because so many people too, that's why they don't share.
Right.
It's because they have so many outside noises that don't allow them, like you said, to actually process and make the decision that's best for you. So you ended up not staying. Yeah. You decided to leave. So what made you come to that decision? Like, so you went from a state of confusion of not really knowing what you wanted to do. Yeah. And how did you actually come to the conclusion that, okay, I'm going to leave?
Self-care. Okay. So it's funny because my therapist, so I said therapy and self-care, she gave me this book, that dealt with a similar situation as mine, that the husband had a baby with someone else, and it was the girl, I cannot remember the name of it. And it's funny because the crazy thing is I was mad at the end of the book. No. I did not like the ending, so that's why I couldn't remember the name. I did like the ending, but I remembered after that book, that was what inspired me to write my own, because I wanted to share a different perspective. But she told me after reading the book, she was like, we talked about, everything that I had on my plate, everything that I was doing, as a mom, as a wife, as, a professional, like everything that I was doing on my plate. What was I doing for myself in this moment? And you're doing, as women, we just naturally do for everyone else. Yeah. And what are you doing for yourself? And so she made it a homework assignment that I had to do something for myself every single day. No matter how big, how small, I had to do something every single day. And so in that time, I took that to heart, and I was like, okay, I started out just dancing, doing at-home workouts, and just kind of finding myself again, because like I said, I just had a baby. And so I was like, okay, that's what I knew. I went to what I knew, and it was an opportunity for me to just really have that time to myself, and really just learn to love me again. And I talked about that, I couldn't smile during that time. Because I've always known to be the person that's smiling all the time, no matter what. But in that moment, like, that smile was gone. Yeah. And so to find the courage to smile again really took me investing in myself, finding the things that I love, figuring out what I desired, what I needed, what I wanted my life to look like. Okay. And when I took that time to invest in me and figure those things out, by the end, the pieces started falling. Like, God was telling me, get your credit together, get your money together. Yeah. So, and he was sending it to me. Yeah, them subtle hints. Like, okay, this is what we setting the plan together, setting the plan in action. And so as time was going on, I realized that this is not what I wanted for my life.
But how? Like, was he not putting in the work?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
We were supposed to see our, separate therapists, as I told you, and I was going weekly.
Okay.
And with his work schedule, he was supposed to go every other week, but that wasn't happening.
Okay.
So, we're living in the same household at this time.
Okay.
But he's not showing me that this is something that he's fighting for.
So you didn't see any effort being put forth?
No, not really. I mean, bare minimum, things that you should do, like, take the kids to school or,
yeah,
come home.
Yeah. What about conversations? Were you guys conversations about things that kind of would keep you at mind and at peace while he's out and about and stuff like that? Or
we had conversations about, what was happening, and through those conversations, I originally thought it was one person. Learned that it was more than one person. My mama told me, she's like, it's more than one person. That is that. She did. She's like, when I told her it's one person, she was like, no, it's not.
It's typically always more than one person.
But I believe, he told me at first that it was just one, and I believed it, or I wanted to believe it.
Yeah.
And I later on, nope, that was not the case. Just we had conversations just about, how we got here, why we got here, and just in those moments, it wasn't making me feel as though the marriage is what I wanted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't giving me, like I said, God was sending me signs and preparing me in a sense. Because before I even found this out, I was pregnant at the time, but I wasn't working full time. I was teaching at a fitness studio.
Yeah.
And God sent me a job literally maybe like a month before.
Yeah.
I had the baby that was, they already knew I was going to have a kid. So it was like he sent me a full-time job during that time. And then, like I said, he was showing me those signs to get everything together, get your money right, get your plan right. And like I said, those conversations that we had, like we talked about it, there was, feelings of anger. I would sit in the room sometimes, just listen to songs and just let out my emotions. And there was times he would come in and, we would have conversations. There were moments and I could see the gradual change in the conversations, because they started off with me being really angry. And then they would lead to just being just confused and wanting clarity and wanting to know why and when and how and what. And then it got to the point to where I didn't need the clarification. I didn't need the reassurance. I didn't need any of that from him.
Yeah.
And when I started to feel that, because I'm a one-woman girl, like I said, I'm a good girl, don't cheat, all that. When I started to feel like I was pulling and I didn't need those things from him anymore, I knew that I was done.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. One thing I always talk about, too, is like, in life, but especially in relationships, and it goes for men and women, but, in particular talking about women, is that women need safety, security, and certainty.
Yeah.
Because then that allows us to see, like, okay, well, does this person care? Does this person understand? And can I trust this person?
Yes.
And it's like, even as I was hearing you speak, it's like, okay, well, she didn't feel the security.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You didn't feel secure that he was doing his part. You all were doing your part individually,
right,
to then come together.
Right.
And I think that that's really like a good telltale sign for women, because I'm sure you get women all the time that are like, well, how do I rebuild this trust back with this person? And how do I know when it's time to leave? And how do I know when it's time to stay? And I think that a very important piece to that is first being okay with not knowing what you want to do in the moment.
Yes.
We have to stop thinking that when we find out about the infidelity that we have to have the decision right then and there. Because you don't.
No.
And then the second part to that, which I really appreciate you just really bringing out, is that as you both are doing the work individually, are y'all growing together or are y'all growing apart?
Yep.
Because that's going to be the biggest indicator of, okay, cool, I feel safe here,
right,
and secure, and I'm certain
right,
that I can trust my vulnerabilities with this person again.
Yes.
And I think that if people don't know that part, then it's okay for you to be in this murky space of, I don't know, I'm just trying to figure it out.
Right.
And so, you know, you moved on, you remarried, you have a beautiful family. I love watching all of the posts that you post with your family and all of that type of thing. So I want to talk about two things before we actually close it out. Talk to me about, when did you know it was time for you? Like, after you left your husband at the time, and so you're single again, you know, you have your baby, you're loving yourself, you're doing the self-care journey. When did you decide, like, oh, okay, I think it's safe for me to get back out there and start dating again? How did you know that?
So I took, like I said, we were staying in the same household while this was going on, and that was about a year before I actually moved out.
Okay.
And so during that time, like I said, I was on my self-care journey. I was learning the things that I wanted, learning the things that I desired. When I finally moved out, that was a time, like, my tribe stepped up, and they were like, they showed up at my new apartment and had me kitchen stuff together and all that stuff. Like, they really showed up for me. And so during that time, I just enjoyed the time with my kids. We just had our own little place, and we were, getting a system together and a routine. And I was, enjoying those moments of, getting to spend time with my friends and just really just enjoying me. But during that time, I always knew, even when this happened, that I never gave up on love. My belief in love and marriage was never taken away. Okay. I always knew that there was a magic in marriage that I still believed in. I still believed in the covenant. And so I still wanted that. Okay. It just wasn't going to be with him. Mm-hmm. And so when I, left and took that time, just to enjoy myself and have fun, I knew that, okay, God, like, I'm ready to, just talk to people. It doesn't have to be a serious relationship, because I hadn't dated. I married this man when I was 20 years old. So, Okay, so I was young. So I hadn't really had a dating life. And so I was willing to explore that. Like, this was my opportunity to do that. And so I was willing to go into that experience and just, meet people. And it's funny because I honestly prayed to God to send me somebody that I knew.
Oh, did you really?
I did. Oh, wow. I did. Okay, I prayed because I was like, try to meet like somebody completely new and like learn them and all that stuff. That's a lot. That's a lot. It's so hard. And I did go on a few dates with people I didn't know. Okay. And my tribe, was on it. My daddy did background checks, all that stuff. Like, yeah. But I did ask God to send me somebody that I knew. I didn't know exactly what that meant, but that's what I prayed for. Yeah. And that's what he did.
Oh,
wow. And so just opening myself, just having that, getting closer, because this brought me closer relationship with my own personal relationship to God. And so taking that time to, going from a point where I couldn't pray for myself to getting to a point where I could pray for myself and pray for the things that I desired and pray for the things that I wanted, and figuring out those things. Because when I was a 20-year-old girl and married my first husband, what I wanted then was not the same as what I wanted after divorce and going through infidelity.
Because you were how old at your divorce?
I was probably about 27, 28.
Okay. Yeah. So a lot of time in transition and growth for sure.
Yes. Yeah. And so it was really just figuring out those things that I wanted for myself and knowing that, okay, I'm in a new season. And so I'm open to that process again and being vulnerable. And trust is a hard thing, but I wasn't trying to rush it.
Yeah.
I was just enjoying the experience. And that's what I tell a lot of the women I work with now that are, in that dating phase. Yep. Just enjoy it. Like, don't, it doesn't have to be serious. It just, but when it comes, when the seriousness comes, then but just enjoy just getting to know people and making those connections. Yeah. Don't put the pressure on yourself. That's the thing is, I have some women that I work with that are like, I want a relationship, so I need to find somebody who wants a relationship. And you do.
That's so true.
But but allow yourself to find that person and allow some time for God to send you that person and just enjoy the experience of dating.
Yeah.
I didn't get to do that
right
until later on. So just enjoy the experience.
I love that you say that, because I think that is so important, is that women need to learn how to be present.
Yes.
People, period. But
yes,
especially for women who are coming out of a divorce or coming out of some infidelity or betrayal or whatever, you need to learn how to be present. Like, because really what I'm learning with women is that what's pulling them to feel like they have to get into a serious relationship is the fear. The fear of being alone, the fear of not finding someone again, the fear of attracting that same person. Like, all of these fears are what's leading them to feel like they got to rush everything.
Right into something.
You know what I'm saying? And I love even too, just hearing you talk about your process and your singleness is, you know, what I took from what you shared was that you were actually able to see yourself again. And a lot of the times women try to rush back out there in the dating field, and they're trying to figure out, well, why is this person treating me like this? You know, why am I getting attracted to this same type of person? It's because you haven't allowed yourself to actually see yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I was working with a client this week, and she was thinking about some things, and she started crying, and she covered her face, and I was like, uncover your face. You need to look at yourself even in your vulnerabilities, because that's beautiful, because you're going through this journey. And so many of us are hiding behind our shames and our insecurities and our fears, but we want people to see us, but we haven't even done that work to see ourselves.
Yep. That's why I'm so passionate about the finding yourself again.
Yes. Yeah. It's beautiful. Right. And one thing I want to ask you too is, okay, so you're dating again. The Lord blessed you to answer your call and got you with somebody who you already knew. And I feel like this question is important, because this question was asked of you from the stage. It's for women who are now, you know, getting ready to go back into the dating stage, but they have babies like you did. And that's hard. Yeah. And the question was, how do you trust another man with your kids? Like, can you speak to women? Because I know it's a lot of women out there who are experiencing that.
Yeah. So for me, I'm a package deal. And I said that from the get-go. Like, it's me and my kids. If you don't accept my kids, then you can't accept me either. Yeah.
So did you introduce your kids early on?
No.
Okay.
I did not.
Okay.
So anyone I talked to knew I had kids. I was very open about that. But no one, even my now husband, did not meet my kids for about probably like 4 months.
Okay.
And that was, you know, we would, you know, only date or see each other. And my kids were around if they were asleep or they weren't there. You know, he had to come in the back door sometimes, you know, because, hey, that just is what it is. But he also had kids. Okay. So he was very accepting and open to that, because I didn't meet his kids either. We met our kids at the same time. For the most part. Like a week away from each other. But that was something that was very important to me, because I wanted to develop a friendship with someone. Yeah. Build that foundation with someone, and them understanding the importance of my kids to me, and my kids in the future, in their relationship they would have with my kids, and getting to know what they wanted out of a relationship, out of a marriage, to get a feel for, is this the type of person that I want around my kids in the future? Is this the type of person that's going to pour into my kids? Is this the type of person that if something happened to me, I'm still feel comfortable with them being in their presence? You know, if you know, I'm no longer here. Like, those are the things that I think about when I was dating or talking to men. So when it came to my now husband, like we took that time. We were very intentional about talking about our kids, what we wanted, what we desired, what would our future look like, before we were comfortable with bringing our kids into the situation. Because we also not only wanted to make sure that our kids were comfortable with us, but make sure they were comfortable with each other. Because he had kids as well. So just really taking the time to build that foundation and trusting your gut, like having your guard up. Like, that's okay. Like, I had my guard up until I was ready to let it down, until he did the work for me to let it down. Right.
Yeah, he had to prove
He had to prove it. He had to break it down. And if he couldn't break that wall down, then he wasn't the one.
Yeah.
So just really just taking that time to build that foundation. I mean, really do the research. Like I said, my dad do background checks. So
Daddy, tell him to come help me out, please. I need help, Daddy. So, is there a time frame though for when you should introduce your kids? Like, because some people are like, introduce them soon because then it gives you the opportunity to see how well they work with your kids. You don't want to invest all this time, blah, blah, blah. And then some people are like, nah, you don't need to be bringing everybody around your kids. So like, what is the delicate balance with that?
I don't feel like there's a set time frame on it, but I do feel like you shouldn't introduce your kids until you are comfortable with that space, because, everybody has a vibe. Everybody has an energy. My kids don't need to be introduced to every single person that I'm talking to. They don't need every single, being. If I'm dating, and like I said, enjoy yourself while you're dating.
Yeah.
They don't need every single person that's on my Bumble like that I talk to. They don't need to meet every. That's just like my parents would tell me, like, you don't need to bring every guy home to us.
Yeah.
Bring somebody that you're a little serious about, or that you want to pursue a little bit, like.
But we all got some people in our family to have a new person home.
Right, every time you gotta remember names and all this time, and don't do that with me, because I'm gonna mess up and call somebody the wrong name. Right. But yeah, like I'm not gonna bring every person into my kid's life, because I said, we all have energies and vibes, and I don't want every person's energy in my kids' lives. And so I definitely think that there's no time frame, but definitely make sure that you build a foundation and a trust with the people that you bring into their lives before you do that. Just take some time to do that.
I like that. I love that. I love that. Wow, this conversation has been amazing. Thank you again so much for coming out and just sharing your expertise. I love talking to women who you can tell have really done the work, and they're not still living in that bitterness.
Yes.
And that's really rewarding. But I also want to say thank you too for even just sharing your story. One of the reasons why I created this podcast is for people to hear other people's stories of infidelity, because like you said, we hide behind the shame of things, and there's healing in sharing your story so that you can come back and help other people. And so I love that now that's kind of like your passion work. Like that's what you do. And you just had an event yesterday, right? Finding My Crown.
Yes.
Yeah, tell us about that.
It was my Crown Tribe meetup is what I call it.
Crown Tribe meetup. Okay.
Yes, I'm gonna have it every month.
Okay.
And it's really just a space for women to be able to come and just have a safe space just to release.
Okay.
And talk. I did a activity with them that encouraged that and fostered that type of environment for them to share and just release the things on their plate. And then we, had that dialogue and had the conversation. The cool thing that why I call it Crown Tribe Meetup is it's an opportunity for people to connect, because we, like you said, we feel like we're alone and we're doing this thing alone, and we're not. And there's so much power in connecting with people, because some of those things on your plate, you can meet somebody that can help you with those things that are on your plate.
For sure.
And so really building that community and that safe space for people to connect and share. And then we just did just another releasing activity for people just to enjoy them. So we painted, did a little painting and just had some wine and just shared. It was so heartwarming. It was so just cool to see the women in the space and how they were able to connect and learn from each other. And so that's what it's all about, just fostering that that atmosphere. And then I'm educating women about self-care and how they can intertwine self-care into their daily life and make it a habit. And so it was just a really awesome time. And so the next one will be on June 29th.
Okay,
so
great.
I'll release when that the venue for the June 29th one in a couple weeks. But yeah.
So if people are interested in signing up and registering, where can they go and all that good stuff?
They can go to my website, findingmycrownae.com. You can also follow me on Instagram, which is Finding My Crown AE, or find me on Facebook with Antonese Davis. And I able to stay connected with me and find out when all the next events are coming. So.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And so also, because you're also a coach, You're author. So if people are interested in working with you and getting connected with you, like what does that look like and how can they connect with you too?
Yeah, so if you go to my website, findingmycrownae.com, there is a contact form there that you can send a message to me and we can connect to set up coaching sessions. And then I also have a group coaching program that's going to be released here soon as well.
Okay.
So a fit for everyone that is willing to do the work to rediscover themselves. So.
I love it. Is there anything else that we need to talk about that we didn't discuss?
I mean, like I said, you can, go to my website. I have, and I also do coaching, but I also have, tools for women too.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
my book,
Yes, ma'am.
Finding
Yes.
My Crown.
Yes.
And then I also have self-care guides. It's the 30-day one, but there's a 90-day one as well.
Okay.
And then there's some new products getting ready to be released soon.
Okay.
So I'm all about just having tools for women to educate and engage in self-care.
Okay.
And then events as well too that create that community and that safe space for women as well.
Yes, for sure. Because y'all, I'm telling y'all, I love this book. It was so cute. I went crazy over it when we were at the coast. Like, showing people, like, look at it. It's really, really cute. So she has different daily reflections on there, activities, prompts, places to journal, because that's really what got me through too, was like having that opportunity and that space to journal, which was so important.
Yes.
But yes, I am so glad again. Thank you again for coming out, speaking to the people. And I want to ask you one last question. I'm going to let you close it out. Someone asked me, what is life before infidelity? Mm-hmm. And I want to ask you that question, and we're going to close it out with that. So just for women who have just experienced, the infidelity or whatever, what would you say to them? Because you know yourself, but for you, let me just say this. For you, what is life before infidelity?
Ooh, life before infidelity. I'd say before infidelity, it is fast-tracked. It is fast-paced. It is really following the plan that I probably had for myself, not really what God had for me. It is just going with the motions and trying to do the best that I can with all the hats that I wear, trying to be the best partner that I can be, trying to, uphold all my responsibilities and, really just live, but really, and I say really survive, not live.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
I was surviving.
Yeah.
I was, just going with the flow.
Yeah.
But life after infidelity has been transformational. It's been eye-opening. It's been a journey because it never ends. But through that, I found myself again, and I found the ability to develop the mechanisms and the tools that I needed, so that way when I'm faced with difficult situations, whether it's infidelity or, whether it's grieving or whether it's, just difficult things that we go through in life and those obstacles, I have a map that I can go to say, okay, this is what I need in this moment. I can pull from whatever I need. If I need joy, Lord, give it to me. If I need peace, Lord, give it to me. If I need comfort, Lord, give it to me. I have that map. Now, I didn't have that before infidelity, but infidelity created a new opportunity for me.
Oh, I love that. That's good. Infidelity can create a new opportunity for you. And one thing that I would just say to all women, it's okay not to know what you want to do in the moment. Give yourself that space and that time to figure it out.
Yeah.
And allow yourself to actually look for the feedback in your partner to see if he's worthy and if he even has the capacity to give you what you need if you do choose to stay, because that is a very important piece to that. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. You can continue following me on Instagram and TikTok, Life After Infidelity. And you can also link up with me at lifeafterinfidelity.net. And you can click on the free discovery call link for a free 15-minute discovery call to see if we're even a good fit to work together. And I'll see you all on the next episode. Bye-bye, beautiful people.